Okay, guys, welcome to the weekend update. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to Lending Perspective on YouTube. You can follow along there, watch past weekend updates. There's a lot of things that I say, weeks leading up to kind of where we are now. And the premise for today is not necessarily technicals, but tactics. Guys, we've been working in an environment with elevated rates easily since 2022. So we're talking about almost a 4-year run with rates above 6%. This is not something that is foreign to us or new. I think some of the changes that we're seeing today are that we've got a lot more inventory than we had early days of the elevated rate scenarios. People locked into homes that they purchased during COVID or locked out of getting a home after COVID, and that demand continues to build, continues to be pent up, and there are solutions for getting prospective first-time homeowners or buyers into the market with more inventory available. Now, I've got my buddy Barf, and this is what we've been looking at as we've been watching interest rates steadily rise since the beginning of the excursion in Iran. Let me take you into some of the technicals, but I'm going to show you some of the tactics that we've been using for multiple years now to help sellers get their home into escrow with qualified committed buyers and help qualified committed buyers get keys to potentially their first home. Let's go into the split screen and see the market. Green today. This is something that we've seen throughout the last couple of weeks for like a day. Problem is that if interest rates improve for one day, that does not create a trend. The trend overall has been barf. And that's creating some opportunities, though, for homes that are sitting on the market that buyers can leverage into getting a great deal on a great new home. A couple of top stories. I'll share this. And I wanted to show kind of the rate trend. And again, we've been sitting above well over 6% since September of 2022. So we're not in unfamiliar territory. In fact, it's the opposite. When we dipped down below 6% for the first time in over 4 years, just at the end of February, that was kind of rare air. I think it sparked a lot of I know it sparked a lot of buyer activity, but that rate availability sub 6% was fairly short-lived without some help from sellers, and that's what we're going to get into here. So if you want to click on this, you'll see rates leap to another multi-month high. That was this week without a ton of news. There is some speculation that maybe the Fed in meetings in the future, certainly not the meeting for April, would raise interest rates. I don't necessarily see that. We're gonna get some inflationary pressures from energy. That's nobody could, I think, even argue that. But what the economy is going to be looking for is some form of stimulus or stimulation, not something to create a greater gridlock. What the Fed doesn't want, and the name that keeps popping up a little bit is stagflation. So we certainly don't want to face stagflation, but we're gonna create a scenario where we've got minimal economic growth if we were to raise interest rates from where they are right now. So go ahead. Plus, never forget, guys, if you want a more narrative on what's happening in the market, that's what we've got our market summaries in the weekend update, WKNDup.com. We'll put hyperlinks to top stories that are on CNBC and across the web that we think are showing meaningful impact into our industry. We'll also give you kind of a breakdown of our market summary. And this is some interesting findings, right? Again, we're showing that rates are creeping up towards 6.3%. That is the trend. Active listings surging, though, 40% year over year. So this is where I'm talking about. We're creating opportunities for buyers to make deals with committed sellers in the form of not just price reductions. I'm going to show you that in a second. But seller credits that will help people achieve a rate that they could have gotten in February. So doesn't mean that rate's gone away. It just means in order to capture that qualified committed buyer, sellers need to be creative. And you as their agent, if you're representing sellers, need to show them something I'm going to show you here in just a second. The other thing that continues to grow, and this trend started early this year, and I've been talking about it for a multitude of weeks, Now we're up to over 17%, where when I first started talking about it, we were about 14%. The number of cancellations as a percentage of homes going into contract continues to rise. You'll see here the biggest reason nationally is appraisal gap. But we're also seeing sellers cancel because maybe the home that they were buying had some issues. And one of the interesting finds here is that the percentage of those that are canceling, 1 in 5 are because of DTI rejection. Now that just tells me they were not properly prepared or educated by the lender to let them know what portion of their income is going to be used for their housing expense. Again, that's something that we'll show in a second, and why we use Mortgage Coach for literally every client that we work with, purchase or refi, and HOI costs and spikes. I'm going to touch on some good news for condos and single family homes at the end of the video. So if you're concerned about or you've experienced insurance being a cause for cancellation, stay tuned. This hyperlink is in on the dashboard on the weekend update. Let's talk about a particular home that I'm running an example for. This is an open house right now for 4541 Rainier townhome condo in Mission Valley. Actually not far from where I first worked in college, at the Honda of Mission Valley store. Anyways, I'm putting together something for this. I want to show you guys, if you had your buyer going through this property right now, and again, this is where I think we're educating both buyers in ways that we've been using for about 4 years now, and sellers. Home is listed at $825. So I got a typo there. So 829. 829 is the sale price. If you were buying it at market rate right now, just at list price, your rate would be around 6.625%. If you're a first-time home buyer that qualified for the area median income. Now, you guys, there's a lot more than just down payment assistance programs. There are programs meant to help first-time home buyers that meet certain income requirements, and I mean median income, not low income, that help them get an improved interest rate. So 6.625 is a pretty good rate for a condo, less than 25% down today. How can we make things better? Well, we could ask the seller for a 3% seller credit. If we did that, we could use that to buy down the interest rate to 5.75. We'll save that buyer $423 a month, or about over $5,000 a year. That's significant savings. Now, if you said, hey, this home has been on the market a little bit, why don't you give me a price decrease of $60K, which is almost 10% on an $800,000 home. Yes, that would get you, with today's interest rate, and a payment just a little bit more than if we did the rate buy down. But is the seller going to be so motivated to do that? Probably not. Almost 10% when the price has already been reduced once. Probably not likely. Here's what we're seeing that's more typical. About an $800,000 home. Over the course of a listing, we may see that home price drop $20,000. In doing so, the seller has saved any potential qualified committed buyer $138 a month, less than $2,000 a year. So guys, look at this, $60,000 probably out of the question. $20,000 kind of a grape in the ocean from an affordability standpoint. Yet a 3% seller credit, which is just around the same cost of the seller as the $20K price reduction, going to save a buyer over $400 per month. This is what's moving the needle. This is what's getting folks into contract at something that they can afford. And also, because of the structure, it's minimizing the fallout ratio that you see that's now over 15%. Again, I'll post this on the weekend update dashboard. We've got information there regarding MedPro, our awesome doctor loan. This works for people in the medical field that are doctors, veterinarians, anesthesiologists. So check out MedPro if you've got doctors actively shopping. And this is if they were brand new to their profession, fresh out of college, and don't have a significant down payment. We can go 0 down on our MedPro with no mortgage insurance. So I've got that on there for you. Again, don't forget about Home Funded. Down payment being one of the biggest obstacles for homeowners today. Home Funded is a way to help offset some of the cost of purchasing a home, as well as help with your down payment. And I want to talk about some changes in condos. one of the ways people have traditionally tried to address affordability, both on a monthly basis and down payment, has been condos. But we've seen almost like an epidemic of condos having issues with agency financing. There's been some major overhaul, and we're going to have a webinar in the near future to allow you to register and learn more about some of the changes from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Couple things that are happening though. One, if you have condo investors, you used to be limited in the amount of penetration of absentee owners or non-owner occupied percentage of owners in a condo complex would stop an investor from acquiring a property with conventional financing. That has been completely eliminated. So there was two categories that would block an investor in buying a condo from an ownership type. One was percentage of non-owner occupied properties. That has been completely eliminated. Ownership interest percentage, meaning how many condos an owner owns in a complex, that is still in effect. So one of the major hurdles for investors to get into condos has been completely eliminated. Fannie Mae is eliminating, as of August 3rd, the limited review, which means that every complex that is not on the PERS approved list would have to go through a full review. If you have questions about what that can mean, let me know. But what they're trying to do is clarify and ease some of the requirements for condos. Therefore, the full review, which would take place on essentially every condo that's not on the PERS list, has some easier guidelines, more clear guidelines on what's possible. A big thing, and this goes for condos and single family residences in California, is that they're allowing the roof replacement for the condo to go off of actual cost value, not replacement cost. And this is key, and I'm not an insurance specialist, but what I can tell you is that getting full replacement cost for a roof has been one of the major blockers from getting a master policy insurance that acquired. So effectively, condos are having a hard time finding an insurer that would give full replacement cost value for roofs, even if they didn't need one. What's especially important is that FAIR Plan. You do real estate in California, you're very well in tune with what the FAIR Plan is, but the FAIR Plan will not offer replacement cost coverage on a property if the roof is over 25 years old. So we were running into some situations where we could get a FAIR Plan for a client. However, because the roof was older than 25 years, even if you're talking about a clay or cement tile roof, FAIR Plan would not offer replacement cost coverage. And then that was creating major issues for clients. They're already getting a more expensive policy generally because they need the FAIR Plan. And then they could not get replacement cost coverage for the roof. So a couple big changes there. And then our team, and I believe we have one of the best condo project and standard executives in the industry, very tuned in with the agencies, both Fannie and Freddie, very close to the leadership there. Really is working to make condos more accessible for us to lend on, which makes condos more accessible for your clients to buy. Again, open house this weekend. We'll put it in our featured property. That's 4541 Rainier Avenue in Mission Valley. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. If you have any questions about any of this, drop a message below. We'll get right back to you. You can always hit us up via email, text, or call. We're around all weekend. We appreciate you watching. Go win. Have a good day. Bye.